figure out how they can acquire that, whether or not there's more information to find, and that's pretty much it. We just wanted to make sure that the basic information was out there, and we'll kind of take it from there.
Okay, great. And we're going to get started with this game in just a minute, but real quick, I wanted to ask, so are suspensions effective immediately?
Suspensions are communicated to the player, at which point they become official.
Okay.
Now, the problem that comes up sometimes is if you don't have access to email, or if you are not paying much attention to it, it's entirely possible to miss it. Now, the way that it can also come up is when a tournament.
He was playing today.
Yeah, when a tournament is submitted, and the way that we actually caught it was when a tournament's submitted, the DCI it automatically checks all of the numbers for anyone who is in the suspended player database, and it kicks back an email that says, "Hey, this person participated in your tournament, they're suspended." And at that point, the tournament organizer can take appropriate action. When we found this out, we spoke with Michael, and he has been dropped from today's event because he's not eligible to participate.
Okay, great.
So,
thank you very much.
Yep, no problem.
Do you want to hang out and commentate?
It looks like we're going
to
to be watching the Samurai Master AJ Sacher and Shai Shaham. All right.
If you are going to hang out, I can grab some food, but if you're
Now,
AJ looks like he's playing his natural order list that he's been doing very well with recently.
Yeah, he has been doing exceptionally well with that deck. And Shai here seems to be playing a. This looks like a junky kind of New Horizons deck. It doesn't really have any sort of.
Without the Terravore, we're going to mostly call that just a regular junk. Green, white, and black. Knight of the
and
Reliquary.
He has Deed, which seems really good right now.
Yep. Definitely, we saw Eli Cassis with this deck in the finals in New Jersey. And
he did not have Deed though. Deed's an interesting card that we've seen.
Definitely an interesting metagame choice
as of late.
Yep.
I was talking to people maybe about 2 weeks ago, and they started just asking the question, what decks in Legacy can actually beat a Pernicious Deed? And the number of decks was very small.
Yeah.
So
looks like Shai's taking a mulligan here. AJ, I believe, held on to his first 7. Now, Shai can get that card advantage right back with an early Inquisition Kozilek, Hymn to Turok, Thoughtseize. He's able to take apart his opponent's hand pretty effectively, especially if he can get out to a quick start.
Yeah, I think like his dream scenario, especially when he's on the mulligan, is like playing a turn 1 Confidant. Like moxing into that would be ideal for him.
Yep. The Mox Diamond is definitely, it's a strong card. He actually has it listed with his lance.
Yeah. And the Confidant on turn 2 is very strong, as long as AJ doesn't have a sword to deal with it. But Shai can also just play an Inquisition or a Thoughtseize and nab that sword out of the way.
Yep.
Of course, against a deck like AJ's, you might be willing to play defensively with those discard spells.
Yep, you've got to hold off and go after kind of the big boys rather than trying to really fight through and get that Confidant through. The swords is not going to be your primary concern over the course of the match.
Yeah. Now,
and there's
Shai
that Mox
leads off
Diamond
with a Marsh Flats and a Mox Diamond, and there's a whole range of spells here which are incredibly dangerous for AJ. Him, Dark Confidant.
Essentially, making your opponent double mulligan with him is just a beating.
Yeah. Then things will be about even, or a little less than even actually, because he had to discard to the Mox Diamond. So he's already on 5 cards after the Him.
Now I can see definitely has the swords over on the left-hand side, and also a Noble Hierarch on the right-hand side. Tropical Island looks like, and then not seeing the rest of it.
That's some incredible vision.
There's there's a top comes down, and honestly, that's not very scary for AJ as he gets it back, drops that Tropical Island, and
plays
puts
a Noble
the Hierarch out. Looks like is that a Missy Rainforest or Catacombs on top? I think it's a Catacombs.
I believe he drew a Verdant Catacombs. The Verdant Catacombs are especially powerful when he has the top in play. It really lets him engineer the top of his deck. Or he's going to crack it right now, perhaps play a Knight. Maybe a Vindicate.
Bayou comes into play.
And there are a lot of powerful things that can happen in the near future.
AJ shifts the Swords to Plowshares on top of his hand.
Oh, it's a Vindicate for the Trop.
Yep.
And that's somewhat telling. Shai's basically saying by vindicating that Trop, well, I have more creature removal in my deck, or I have creature removal in my hand. It just seems odd that he would kill the Tropical Island as opposed to the Noble Hierarch.
Well,
so AJ plays another Noble Hierarch, plays a land, and passes the turn back to Shai. Shai may also just want to get more value out of a deed in case he draws one.
yep. Setting himself up.
Now, Shai's topping here on his opponent's end step, or during his upkeep. He draws Thoughtseize and plays it. Let's take a look at AJ's hand. AJ shows him a pair of Swords to Plowshares, a Natural Order, and a few lands. That Natural Order is going to come down next turn, and things are not looking great for Shai. Now, one thing that's very interesting about Shai's list is that Shai is playing 0 copies of Swords to Plowshares. I didn't notice that at first. Normally, Swords is a 4 of. Oh, I'm sorry, it's by
He hit it down at the bottom.
Yeah, okay. That makes a lot more sense to me. The Swords was played as soon as I said it. Now, he has to play that Swords to prevent AJ from casting Natural Order the next turn. AJ's going to crack his fetch land, and he's just going to probably play a 3rd land and pass the turn back to Shai, depending on what he draws. He'll play 2nd land, rather.
Only things I could see coming down here would be possibly a Tarmogoyf or a Fauna Shaman if they come off the top. But primarily it looks like he'll just drop the 3rd land. What's that?
AJ has Green Sun Zenith for 2. This may grab a Kasali Pride Mage and may grab a Tarmogoyf.
Yep.
There we go.
Now Tarmogoyf has sorcery, land, and I can't see Shai's graveyard, unfortunately.
This Shai has discarded a land of the Mox Diamond.
Yep.
He's played a Thoughtseize, and he's cast a Swords to Plowshares, so he has a sorcery instant land.
So we're looking at a 3/4 Tarmogoyf. Fairly normal sized, I would say.
Ooh, indeed. There it is.
Yep.
That spell is very powerful in this format right now. It's going to get rid of the Mox Diamond, so it's not really. It's actually providing card disadvantage to Shai, but it's actually going to kill the Dryad Arborite, and think about that.
Yep.
Forgot, it does not say non-land. It says artifacts, creatures, and enchantments. So planeswalkers get to live.
So the primary question was whether or not AJ would be able to top deck a Natural Order to go with his Verdant Catacombs and go off, but he was not able to do so. So it looks like he's going to be in a pretty tough spot, left just with the, I believe it's a Tundra that he's got in play.
If you're not familiar with Legacy, it may seem like a deck like AJ's may seem weak to these discard effects that a lot of people play, but he has a lot of ways to defend against them. For example, he could use his Brainstorm to hide the cards. He can draw 3 and then put the Natural Order back on the top of his library when his opponent casts the discard spell. He's going to get in for 4 here with a Tarmogoyf. Put his opponent down to 12, I believe.
Passes back over, and it's going to be interesting to see when Shai uses that Pernicious Deed, because he's going to be losing his Mox Diamond, so you want to do something first, but if you do something that's going to get destroyed by the deed, you're not getting anything useful out of it. So in order to get something that's going to stay above the deed, he's going to have to use most of his mana at this point. And at that point, the deed's not actually doing anything. He's got to keep AJ off of that 4 mana because he's got to make sure that he's not just a top deck away from being out of this match.
Now, AJ's still sitting on a pair of Swords to Plowshares, so it's really difficult for Shai to put any pressure on AJ in the near future, and Shai knows that. Shai saw both copies of Swords when he cast the Thoughtseize earlier, and
deed for 2.
He understands that he needs to play a defensive game.
Takes them both down to a board of 2 lands.
AJ has a few extra cards in his hand. He's going to play Noble Hierarch.
Hierarch off the top. Threatens to top deck Natural Order again.
Yep. And, he's still sitting on both copies of Swords. Now Shai's going to Swords AJ's Noble Hierarch.
Not gaining much off that.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it might not be the best choice at this point to start using Swords on that, but you never know.
If you can keep his creatures off the board, he's got to sacrifice 1 for Natural Order, and so he keeps them both off of the 4 mana, and he keeps them off of having the guy. So he now needs 2 pieces to drop a Progenitus, unless he gets to go get another Dryad Arbor, which puts him back on the plan of top deck Natural Order.
Yeah, one thing I really like about AJ's list is that he's playing more than 1 copy of Dryad Arbor. That's once people deal with the first one, they're not normally playing around the second one at all, and you can fetch it out of nowhere and just drop Progenitus into play. And there it is.
And there it is.
AJ draws the Natural Order off the top of his library, and
the question
Shai's
is,
have trouble beating this.
What answers does Shai have, or should we be looking at the sideboard already?
I think we should probably be looking at the sideboard because I don't see any way for him to deal with this.
He's got 2 turns, and I really don't think that there's anything in his deck that's going to help him out. Usually what you'd be looking for is some kind of sacrifice effect. He's got 1 Diabolic Edict in the board, but just he's got no actual answers.
Yeah, the Progenitus ends the game very quickly, and Mazavith does not do anything to stop it, unfortunately for Shai.
I think he's hoping that AJ doesn't know that. And AJ goes looking, not sure, setting up, trying to figure out what he's going to do before he gets in with Progenitus, but really all he's got to do is turn it sideways twice.
Yeah, I think he knows that. He's taking his time. He's just making sure that he doesn't lose the game at this point. I think a lot of people get too excited sometimes when they're really far ahead and they give their opponent an opening. Sometimes it's best to just take it slow and steady. And now the fetch land, he can actually shuffle away the unwanted cards from that brainstorm.
So he put 1 of his swords back on top, so doesn't feel like he needs them all, obviously. He's still got the 1 if he needs to keep himself at a higher life total, but I'm not sure what to be afraid of at this point. That swords isn't going to put him out of reach for the Progenitus, but it does,
and
doesn't open any window.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard for Shai's deck to combat a Progenitus once it's in play.
Yep.
Even once you have the Edict post-board, AJ's deck has the ability to play enough guys and to put enough random things on the board like Dryad Arbor that the Edict may not even snipe the Progenitus like you need it to. You really need to kind of 1-2 punch with a D.
Well, remember that the Progenitus is going to go back in because it shuffles itself back in and just opens up for another Natural Order. It's just going to slow it down. Now, you definitely bring it in. Unfortunately, with Progenitus being a replacement effect, the graveyard hate that Shai has in the board isn't actually any use. It's not going to help that Diabolic Edict actually get rid of Progenitus. the Bajoka Bog and Nihil Spell Bombs are great against an Emrakul or something along those lines because it goes in and then it triggers. But the Progenitus
just goes straight into the library.
and a Blightsteel Colossus, their effects are replacement effects. There's no time that it actually finds itself in the graveyard to be gotten rid of.
That's an interesting. I actually did not know that. It's not often that I remove the Emrakul with the trigger on the stack. Once the Emrakul's out there, I'm usually just out.
Yep. So let's see what AJ might be bringing in here. I think his deck is pretty well set up to handle the green, white, black junk.
He has 3 Pharmaglyphs. That's interesting.
If he wants to, the Phyrexian Revoker could shut off Deed if he thinks that that's kind of the way that he could lose.
Yeah, Pithing Needle could be used for the same thing. I don't know if he necessarily wants to bring those in.
I think that's more about whether or not he wants to take stuff out. I'm not sure that the Spell Pierces are going to be all that useful to him unless he can get them early on, because unless that's going to take a Hymn to Turok on the early turns, there's not a whole lot of relevant spells that he's going to be trying to fight.
Can we all agree that if Ben Stark and Martin Juza had a child, it would be Shai Shaman?
We'd like to welcome Conley Woods to the booth.
What? That wasn't 3-0? No, I just lost. Like, the guy was on the play, had turn 1, Grindstone.
We are going into game 3.
Lines Diamond, turn 2 Painter. Yeah, so and then the next game.
Are you going to join in, Conley?
Sure.
Okay, cool.
Then the next game I had turn 1 Chalice for 1 to stop all that, and he had show and tell to.
Now,
I think they're shuffling up, doesn't it?
Yep.
Shai's deck post board. He has access to an extra Pernicious Deed. He's probably going to want the Sylvan Library. That'll help him find things that
digging just a little bit would be
good. Even a card like Engineered Plague could be
you have to
quite
get
good.
me in an action pose. This is me smiling. Fat guy smiling. You got to get me in
cards
live
and
action
preventing
pose.
further ones from coming out. Besides that, I think Perish is definitely coming in.
You're going to follow me around all day.
So, Conley,
What's his
we're
matchup?
looking at sideboards. We've got Shai with green, white, black
Isn't
junk.
Conley still playing in the event?
Oh,
Sorry.
I didn't see that sideboard.
Sorry.
Yep,
That was
my
my
fault.
That's okay.
That was me picking something on my team.
Now,
I'm not. No.
post board, I think Shai has a lot more game. I think Perish is obviously huge.
Yep,
Perish is another way to
Perish
deal
does
with the
give
Progenitus.
a way to deal with
No,
the
you're
Progenitus.
not using that one.
And Duress is another way to actually deal with the natural order before things start happening.
All right.
I'm interested to see if Shai's going to bring in Elspeth. That's something I generally like to do against decks that have a decent amount of spot removal, but you never know with a deck like AJ's just what's in it, because it's kind of like a mishmash kind of deck.
And the question becomes, what plan are you going to go on if you drop Elspeth? Is it really going to help you win against AJ's deck? It can.
AJ's still playing no ban?
Yes. AJ is playing Node Bant, and Shai has green, white, black jump. So let's welcome Conley to the booth. I'm going to actually take a step out, leave Conley with Jacob, and slide these guys out. Get Conley actually in front of a mic so that you can hear all the fun stuff that he's saying.
They can hear me, trust me. They can hear me.
All right. Welcome. Thanks for having me, Jacob.
Yep. Thank you for being
All
here,
right.
Jared. Be well. All right, Conley, move on over. Again, this is
Moving on
Jacob
up.
Van Lunen, now here with Conley Woods. I'm in Los Angeles, and we're covering the Star City Games Legacy Open.
I don't have a cool nickname.
Right now, we are covering round 3. This is game 2. Shai Shaham
with a bio
against AJ Sacher, leading off with a bio. And is he going to Thoughtseize? Inquisition of Kozilek.
How do you feel about Inquisition compared to Thoughtseize and Duress in this format? Or Cabal Therapy or anything like that?
I think Thoughtseize is the best.
Oh, of course, but like, do you think?
I think Inquisition's right now. I don't know if it's quite as good.
I mean, it can't hit Force, it can't hit Jace.
I think in general, it seems like it should be more powerful.
Can't hit Natural Order.
So. It's true.
I mean, there's a lot of good cards you can't hit, but it does set up a Hymn to Turok pretty nicely, though.
It's true. Now, Shai makes AJ discard a Green Sun Zenith. that will prevent AJ from shuffling that back into his library when he casts it.
For the second draft open, that will be beginning at 2 p.m.
Just simply plays an island and passes.
1 hour from now. If you're interested in that event, come on over to the side event.
One thing I noticed about playing no ban in testing is that if you don't lead off with a turn 1 no bar arc, your deck can be really slow. It's really the only acceleration you have.
Now, Shai missed his second land drop. That can be a huge issue.
He kept it at 7?
It looked like he did, yes.
I mean, I know I thought Inquisition's decent or whatever, but I don't know if it's worth keeping it at 7. 1 land.
Yeah. Now, being stuck on 1 here is pretty rough. I mean, even just this Tarmogoyf.
AJ doesn't play Wastelands, luckily, so like that's not an issue. But
and now Tarmogoyf becomes 2/3.
What do you discard?
He made him discard a green Sensing.
No. He just discarded for his turn though, so Tarmogoyf might actually be bigger than a 2/3. That's my point.
Oh.
If you discard a non-sorcery, non-land,
What did we just discard?
his graveyard's off screen. We're gonna try to get that moved over.
So.
Pernicious Deed, so it's a 3/4.
So, yeah, Tarmogoyf is currently a 3/4. And,
I lost.
Tarmogoyf's going to bash in, take Shai down to 16. Let's see.
Ooh, what is this?
Natural order?
I'm just going for it.
Boom.
Big timing.
Yeah, that's probably going to do it.
If this is me, I'd get an acidic slime. I think we can all agree. We'd blow up the 1 land. If somebody's going to run acidic slime in Legacy, it's going to be me.
I think I might rather have a 10/10 protection from everything.
I mean, if your opponent doesn't have any lands, it's like a 2/2 death touch protection from everything, right? What's he going to cast? Sickening Shoal?
I love me some Sickening Shoal.
Sickening Shoal was good back in the day. AJ looks really pressured in this one. He's
a forcible removal
casually. Contagion does that as well. That's -2/-1 counters.
Yep, splits them up. Now,
No. We're talking about killing an acidic slime.
Playing a Pithing Needle. Then he is spell piercing his own Pithing Needle. That will make his Tarmogoyf big enough to lethal his opponent.
Boom!
And that'll do it.
Not too often you see the Pithing Needle spell pierce my own Pithing Needle play. I don't know if I like the Blake City Snuff Outs. Take a 3 for 1.
Well, I mean, if your opponent Snuff Outs, then he takes 5
4.
and then
He takes 4.
The Progenitus.
He takes 4 and takes 10, yeah, but he doesn't die that turn. I'm just saying.